We've covered some games that came out on the PlayStation 2, but we've never really talked about the system itself. Everyone knows the story, beloved system, sold a ton of units, had a library of classic games, and was a lot of people's first DVD player. But for our purposes, it's important to note that there were some awesome wrestling games released for the console. Its predecessor, the PlayStation 1, had a checkered history with wrestling games, to be polite. But two of my favorite wrestling games ever were released for the PlayStation 2, and we're not going to talk about them today. Instead, we're here to discuss the third game in the Smackdown series, and the first for the PlayStation 2, Smackdown, Just Bring It. The prior game was Know Your Role, so you'd think Shut Your Mouth would be next, but that's the name of the fifth game. Maybe THQ thought Shut Your Mouth was a dumb name for a game, and went with a superior Just Bring It, but couldn't think of a name for the next game and had to go with Shut Your Mouth. Anyway. Interestingly, this is actually the last Smackdown game with the WWF in the title instead of WWE. In fact, when the game was re-released as part of the Greatest Hits line, its name was changed to WWE Smackdown, Just Bring It. This being the first game on a new console, you might expect some kind of radical reinventions. We've seen big changes on other consoles before. The Super Nintendo controller had more buttons than the NES, allowing for more actions, and the N64's graphical power allowed for games to be in 3D. But the PlayStation 2 basically had the same controller as the PlayStation, and the game doesn't play drastically different from the last Smackdown game. There are some graphical upgrades, you get full entrances now, but the game carries over a lot of the same animations, like that weird leapfrog everyone does. Now, in fairness, you can't keep continually adding buttons to a controller, and you can't have a game take place in the fifth dimension. Well, not without Stardust, anyway. The game does have commentary, a first for the series, with Michael Cole and Taz doing the honors, and it is awful. Look, I don't think commentary in any wrestling game is ever all that good, and never adds to the experience, and developers basically include it because they can and thus feel that they should. But just listen to this.
Welcome to Smackdown!
I'll be announcing tonight's event.
We can't miss Smackdown tonight!
Let's get to it!
There they go!
Just stop it.
The game controls basically the same as the last one, with a focus on fast-paced arcade action. Wrestlers now can have more than one Smackdown special, so Billy Gunn can do both the Famouser and the One and Only, giving you the full Billy Gunn experience. But in all seriousness, I do appreciate the expansion of Smackdown moves, which adds more variety to gameplay. The game has an upgraded story mode, where you can actually make choices in the game, like deciding what title to go after, if you want to be in a tag team, and whatnot. And it certainly is an upgrade. I especially like the weird segments where you roam around backstage and it's a first-person viewpoint, like you're playing Doom or something. Create a Wrestler is here, as is Create a Stable. They also carried over the Create a Taunt feature, where you can string together a stream of movements and, well, create a taunt. It's fairly thorough, and I guess if you're die-harded into creating characters, you'll use it, but I can't see much use for it outside of screwing around for a while, and I'm not surprised they haven't really continued it. This is the first release since the WWE bought WCW. I remember when that deal went down, thinking one of the perks would be we get the greatest video game ever, with the combined roster of the World Wrestling Federation and World Championship Wrestling, pay-per-view settings from both. You could have Sting and Steve Austin fight at Starrcade, and that didn't happen. Well, not here, at least. There's no hint or any sign at WCW, even though the game came out 8 months after they closed their doors. All these years later, with older wrestlers being a huge selling point of modern games and the focus of DLC, it's weird to see a roster comprised of just then-current WWF wrestlers. Speaking of such, there are a total of 44 wrestlers, with 8 of them having to be unlocked. No huge surprises here. Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Big Show, Chris Jericho. The most interesting part is the unlockables. Jerry Lynn makes a rare video game appearance, for example. But the most eyebrow-raising is Fred Durst, lead singer of Limp Bizkit. They used Rollin', open parentheses, air raid vehicle, close parentheses, for The Undertaker's intro. So I guess they threw Durst in as a reward? Anyway, the fact that you can pummel Fred for all the awful music he ever put out may be the game's biggest selling point. Hey, I'm just a crack addict. Hey, I'm just a crack addict. I am just a crack addict. I am just a crack addict. I am just a crack addict, addicted to cracking skulls. The back of the game box promises 70 different match types. I don't think there are 70 different match types. I'm guessing they're playing loose with the math. You have a special ref for, say, a 3-way match. I'm guessing they count that as another match. Wait, what's this? An 8-person battle royal? That's impossible. Well, no, it isn't. Smackdown, Just Bring It is able to have 8 characters on the screen at once for some reason. 15 years and 2 consoles later, we're still stuck at 6 wrestlers on the screen at once. What, they lose the code? I mean, this drives me nuts. Can you imagine if Madden only had 9 players on the field for each team? Do you really think that would fly? I mean, we should be having 40-man battle royals, but we don't. Is it because it's just wrestling? In closing, battle royal mode's fun. I would say Just Bring It is the best game in the series so far, but not really a memorable entry. It's got some fun parts, and it's not really a must-have for your collection. There would be a classic game in the Smackdown series coming up, but that's for another episode. Until then, thanks for watching, and remember, the winner is you.